Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video is going to be about layering stencils. Now these three I could not resist picking up. I haven't had new stencils for a little bit. And when you think of stencils, US dollars, they can run from around $5 to $6 per stencil. Now, each of these packs was no more than $6. So Vicki Boutin has these packs of 3 stencils in each pack. Now, this one here, this one is called Fresh, and there are 3 different designs. You can see 1, 2, 3, and I mean, this is pretty amazing. The other thing I would like to say about these packs is all of the background pieces of cardstock that these come on, you could use as backgrounds to cards. Every single one of them. And I'm not sure if she does it on purpose. I should probably do some research around that. I'm sure she does do it on purpose, but amazing. Look at this, even just the backgrounds here through the stencils. They look gorgeous. Even the back page can be used. So that one we just looked at was called Bountiful, and this one here, I mean, look at that back page. Perfect. Easy, just cut out and go. Add a sentiment. This one is called Kaleidoscope. And again, 3 stencils, and these last 2 were around $5 US, not on sale a piece. So if you picked these up on sale, they would be even cheaper. So 3 stencils in each one of these, which is really good value in my opinion. But for today, I wanted to show you just how easily you can layer up stencils on top of each other. So often we use one stencil, and here I'm just appreciating, look at the gorgeous colors here. I mean, there's at least 2 card fronts in that, in each one of these, and there are 4 pieces of cardstock that come in each pack. So, I mean, potentially 8 card bases and card fronts sitting right there ready to go. But anyhow, that's a whole nother point. So yeah, we can layer up stencils one on top of the other. Often we are tempted to just use one and kind of use it like that, but I want to show you a couple of ways that you can use them on top of each other today. Now, you shouldn't be afraid to mix inks either, whether you use different brands, whether you use different types, pigment inks and then dye-based inks. I'm going to start off today with a pigment ink. This is called Belle. This is a VersaFine Clair pigment ink, and this is going to go beautifully through my stencil. I'm just using a finger dauber today. I do have 1 finger dauber for each of my VersaFine Clair colors. I don't have very many. I probably have out of 10 to 12 all up, so having a finger dauber each is not too bad for that. And there is the base layer ready to go. Then I'm going to switch to Simon Hurley's dye ink called Minty Fresh, and this one is really juicy, so I'm going to, this ink pad is really juicy, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of ink off down the bottom and then add the larger circles over top of these florals. So I am using the Minty Fresh, and with the dye inks are much more translucent than pigment inks. Pigment inks are much more opaque in general, so that's why I chose to do the big circles in a pigment ink. But in a second, I'll show you what happens when you kind of use 2 dye inks. So I'm going to do a similar thing here. I'm using Shooting Star, which is this gorgeous yellow color. This is my favorite yellow color from Simon Hurley. Nice and bright, and again, just using a little finger dauber to pop this on. Then I'm going to come in with the same kind of big holes, and I was debating doing it on an angle, but I couldn't, my brain couldn't quite let me do that. So this time I'm coming in with Guppy over top. Again, this is another dye ink, and it does, I mean, you can see the pattern underneath, and I'm doing a medium heavy layer as well. I'm not doing a super light layer. So if you wanted to really see the pattern, you could do a really light layer, or otherwise change the colors around and do the yellow for the circles. But you can see that it does kind of blank out pretty much the pattern in the background. But yeah, just another way to layer them up. Then I'm going to move on from here to a couple of different things. I kind of want to keep some of the elements similar so that you can see just how far you can kind of take these with not using too many different things. And I'm only going to use 1 of the pack of stencils that I showed you, just because of course, with 9 different stencils, you would be able to get lots of different looks. That's obvious. So I just wanted to kind of show you with these 3. And really, I only use a couple of them. I think I used the other one once as well. So for this one, I did the large circles in the Shooting Star color, the yellow color. And now I'm going to use some Lunar paste. This also happens to be by Simon Hurley. And this one is going to be that kind of fauna, floral, whatever kind of stencil you would like to call this. And I'm going to just pop this on like an embossing paste or like a molding paste. And then I'm going to take as much as I can just off the surface. And then I do want to show you a little trick there. So I've got this bit here, and before I wipe off my stencil, I'm going to take a little baby wipe with a piece underneath, a piece of paper underneath, like a card front. And then I'm just going to kind of rub all of the paste, the leftover paste that was on there, and just gently rub it through the circles with my slightly damp baby wipe. And then when I take this off, this is going to dry absolutely gorgeous. And again, the amount of shine, this is very, very shiny paste. This is absolutely gorgeous, given that this is just a complete kind of second generation use of that Lunar paste and the stencil. Now here's the other one that comes in the pack, and you could do this kind of look for a really subtle one. I don't end up finishing this into a card today, but I pretty much already had the design finished in my head. It's just that this video got really, really long, and so I think I will finish this one off camera. But I mean, so many things that you can do here. This one isn't layering up. This is just using one stencil for a really light version. So pulling one color of ink kind of up a little bit, and then I would bring a focal point there into the center. So just lots of different ways that you are able to use these stencils. And as I said, I've just used 3 of them today. In fact, I just used 2 for all of the other patterns, and then this one's the only time I used the 3rd one as well. But a really nice little just soft kind of fade out there. So these are how they look finished and dry. The shine on this one is gorgeous. The pattern in the background, I don't think one overtakes the other. I think they're both gorgeous. Here is essentially the same thing, except for this is a pigment and a dye ink. And then again, almost the same thing, but 2 dye inks. And then this one is that one that we did as the second generation kind of the stencil, and then this is the last one that we just did. Now, turning a couple of these into cards, boy do I have some fun for you today, because you are going to get to see how I actually don't know if I included it in here, but boy did I mess up this one good. So you're going to actually see the same card be turned into something else again when I have to rescue it. So I'm starting off here with the first one. This is going to be really, really kind of just really quick, simple cards to pop together. I am cutting this down just a little bit so that there will be a nice border. As always, if I want to include a matting layer and I don't want to include an actual piece of cardstock, then I just use a piece of mint tape, which is just some low tack tape from scrapbook.com. The perfect amount of tack on it. I researched, I bought them all, I literally bought them all, and this was my favorite by far out of all of the low tack tapes. This is just has a perfect amount of tack, sort of sticky enough but not too sticky. It lasts really well. It's a really good price point. All of the above things just make this my favorite one. And I just pop a really slim line of black ink around the outside there. I haven't waited until this is dry, so I do have to be a little bit careful. I have the Happy Birthday to You. I think this is called Giant Happy Birthday to You from Fawn. I have die cut this out in some black cardstock. I'm going to pop some matte medium, some liquid glue on the back here. You can see I'm trying not to touch the edges. That's why I bring in this scrap piece of paper, because that pigment ink around the outside that I use to form the matting layer, that is still wet. So I definitely don't want to put my fingers in that and smudge it at this point. I'm adding some, again, liquid glue, some matte medium to the back of my gorgeous big sentiment there, and that is really, really easy and ready to go. The second one that we're going to move on to, you're going to see 2 versions of this one. Now, the first version I really liked until I got to a certain point and it all went pear-shaped for me. So moving on to the second card, I was looking at the panels that I might want to use for this one, and these are all really gorgeous, but the shine on this one is just beautiful. Now, one thing with this is a very bold and very busy background. So you do have to be a little bit careful not to put a sentiment on here that is going to get lost or buried or kind of confused with the background. So even this gorgeous big black bold sentiment here actually kind of gets lost a bit because the background is busy, really, really busy. And so I'm just kind of showing you, I had like a couple of ideas of how I could do it. I also had that white one cut out there, which you could layer up and kind of move one off to the side, sort of up and to the right, like a shadow to become a white shadow, and that would help define it a little bit on the busy background. But I decided to change tact here a little bit. This is the Happy, Happy, Happy Birthday dies from Fawn, and I cut out a couple of these because I wasn't sure which one I would like to use to begin with. Due to my little muck up, you're going to be able to see me use both. Now, I first of all am going to just pop all this together. Now, that big sentiment there that says happy birthday to you, albeit this is a gorgeous, really large sentiment, I just want the big word birthday. And actually, I'm going to have a video coming up on all the different ways that you can use a big sentiment die like this, because first of all, when you invest in a sentiment die like this, you want to be able to use it in lots of different ways. So I want to show you all the different ways that we can use it to make it look different, like we haven't just used the same die over and over and over again. So let me know in the comment section down below if that's a video that you'd be interested in me creating. So I'm going to pop some matte medium on the back. Just because of how I've cut this out, it kind of ends up being in two different pieces, and it's a little bit of a fun, funky style of writing. I quite like that. I've got birthday down the bottom. I'm going to right center things for this one. So I've got the little dot for the eye there that I can't forget. And then deciding which little happy that I would like. The kind of more scripty one, or the more basic font, which I went with the nice clear basic font. And then this is so easy with such a really busy background. All I'm going to do is kind of pop this down on an angle. So pop a little bit of glue on the back, stick this down, and then I give it 30 or so seconds to set and kind of get into place. And then once it's done that, I'm going to turn it over and use my big long Tim Holtz scissors. These are the 9.5 inch ones, absolutely brilliant for cutting along the back like that. And then from here, I was just going to add a few little enamel dots and things, and it would be good to go. But I had an accident and I spilled something, and now I'm going to start again. So I did rip this panel off, and I'm going to pop this one down. You can see I ended up kind of rescuing the panel, but it didn't go to plan. All sorts of things happened. I think I cut out the footage because it made the video too long. But just know that it didn't go to plan, and that's okay. I was determined to rescue it in some way, shape or form. So I just ripped off that front panel, and I'm able to glue it down again onto another card base. And at this point, I thought I would just cut out the happy and the birthday and kind of pop them up, maybe on some foam tape, just make little features out of them. But honestly, for me, it looked a little bit too much like I had done exactly that. Kind of cut them out, pop them on, and they kind of didn't belong there. They just looked a little bit funny already being on a white background. So that's okay. From here, you saw earlier on that I had the white one that I'd already cut out, just in plain white cardstock, and I also had the other happy sentiment that I had cut out, which I can use too. So I may as well make use of them, seeing as I've already die cut them out. So I'm going to cut out the same word birthday. Now you can tell me in the comment section which one of these cards you end up liking best, because they do end up looking fairly different. Unfortunately, you'll just have to remember what the first one looked like, because obviously or you'll just have to rewind back in the video to be able to see what it was. But for this one, I decided to use the same gold paste and just go over the words, the birthday word, so that it kind of matched that as well, instead of doing it in black. And just the word happy would be in that gorgeous black color. So that is actually some matte black cardstock that I used to cut out that one. And for this one, the same slippery when wet Lunar paste that I'm using. And just use my finger. I mean, you could use a brush or, a palette knife or anything like that to pop it on. But honestly, I just find it just as easy with my finger. And then do pretty much the same layout for this one, but this one just has the gold. Making sure not to forget the little dot for the eye, then pop the word happy on. And then for this one, I decided just to add a few little black enamel dots as well, just here and there, and that ties in the black from the happy. Really, really basic, but two different versions for the same kind of card, I guess. Anyway, just remember that if you are looking to check out any of the products, even if you don't want to purchase them, there will be links in the description box below this video, and you can kind of click on it to have a look at the product. You might want to find it elsewhere. You might be able to just kind of have a look and see if you've got something similar that you are able to find in your stash already. But if you want to know more about a product, that's kind of the easiest way to do it. That's why I link them all down below. But if you are interested, that does help me out, of course, if you purchase them through my links. I really, really appreciate that. Then I also have a few other ways that you can help out my channel, and all sorts of links and things that are helpful, as well as my snail mail address if you want to send me any cards. I always love checking my P.O Box and getting cards and things, so thank you so much if you have taken the time to do that. That's one of my favourite things to go and do every week, is clear my P.O Box. But anyway, here are my finished cards for today. I hope you have enjoyed this layering stencil video, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks, bye!